the nature of your emergency?
Welcome back to the Tactical Living Podcast. I'm your host, Ashley Walton, joined by Sergeant Walton. Glenn, how are you?
I'm really good.
I see a lot of people who use their profession as an excuse or an element of avoidance. Things like I'm too busy or too tired, things because of the job. But in reality, there's so much more going on that you might be hiding. And I think that's an important concept to talk about because we use our professions as a crutch all too often. I used to work for Satan, and she just so happened to wear a white coat as a doctor to work every day. And I remember her never addressing anything in her life. The reason why I know this is because she and anybody in her personal life would always come running into my office to tell on each other. And she would often have the excuse of like, I'm too busy. I'm seeing patients all day, right? Like all the things, but she had time to like play Candy Crush whenever she felt like it in between patients. And it's a really interesting concept when we think about the hard truth as to how the uniform can actually act as this emotional armor.
Yeah, I think, and I see this all the time is especially in our first responder realm, is people push off a lot of things that they're uncomfortable doing it, or if they don't necessarily want to do it. I've had guys tell me when it came to like reports or doing the actually parts of their job, like, oh, we were just so busy, we had so much going on, and I didn't have time to do it. And I sit there and I look at them like, well, how long were you on Instagram last night? How long were you doing this? And you start calling them out. Of course, no one likes to be called out on that stuff, but it's creating a balance to where you can't use time as an excuse for avoidance, because ultimately, if you reallocate your time, you're going to be able to get it done. It's just you have to choose to want to do it.
Something that you are so good at is to make sure that you never shut down after your shift. So I'm going to not use being graveyard as an example, because I'm just talking about, because you work, was it 12 or 12 and a half hours?
12 and a half.
And then you sleep, and then you wake up, and then I pack your lunch and send you off to work again. So on the days that you're not working, literally on that Wednesday after your 12 and a half hour shift, you come home and it's like you have, obviously your work is your job, but you come home and then it's like you clock into life.
Mm-hmm. It's having that balance, and it's funny because every time I come home on Wednesdays, I'm like, okay, what can I help with? How can I help you throughout the day? And because I want to stay busy, I want to stay active. I don't want to just sit down and fall asleep, because I know if I sit down, that's what I'm going to do. And Ashley pushes me, no, you need to take a nap. Just take a little baby nap. It's like a little kid going to bed, like, this is how I am when I come home on Wednesdays.
Every day when you come home, I give you your little sippy cup. Yep. I give you your melatonin. And sometimes I give you a protein shake.
Yeah. On those days, I'm like, okay, it's off to bedtime. But on Wednesdays, it's like, it's a fight. It's like, Ashley has to fight with me to make myself go to sleep for a few hours so I can get that rest that I need. But I'm like, I'm home. I want to enjoy life now. I don't want to be in this dynamic of just work. I want to transition into let's get moving with our weekend together.
Okay, but for some people coming home on that Wednesday after that last 12 and a half hour shift, they're too tired for every important conversation or every important engagement. They shut down after their shift, even when their partner really needs them or their kids really need them. And what this does is it builds a lot of resentment and even emotional distance in the home.
Yeah, you want to create and foster a dynamic to where when you're home, you're home. Whether it's finding different activities like on your way home to decompress, or to almost switch that flip for you to be able to turn it off of, okay, I'm not at work anymore. I can turn off my cop persona and I can turn on my dad, my husband, my friend support aspect of my life.
Another way that I see avoidance taking place is that you might just slap a Band-Aid on things and say they just don't understand. And you say that about everybody.
And like, ultimately, that's the leftist mentality on so many levels of you're just never going to understand. You're just wrong no matter what, but there's no valid arguments. And using that as a catch-all, like, you're not harming anything except for yourself and your relationship.
Something else that's really important to pay attention to is to ask yourself if you're only showing up fully when you're on duty. And, maybe you're super mission focused when you're at work, but then you get home and you're numb. I just challenged a gentleman and I asked him, when's the last time that you bought your wife flowers? We were having a much deeper conversation, but it aligned with this. And, the conversation dug deeper into it being very evident that he's great at his job, very mission focused, and yet there's something going on at home. And then that kind of led to some additional clarity in being able to kind of walk through those things. But what this does is it almost reinforces an element of a split identity and even emotional neglect.
Yeah, you need to have that introspective to be able to look at not only yourself, but to your relationships to see where are you pouring out your cup to? Are you pouring it all out at work and you can't come home and still have something left or still have a full cup to be able to keep pouring out that passion, that desire, that emotional presence being with your family? Because if you're always pouring it out everywhere else, like, ultimately, like, and it's so important because, and this is what we've talked about before, is remember, being a first responder, it's your job. It's a profession. It's what you do, but it's not who you are.
And listen, we are all for no tax on overtime, although I don't think that we're going to qualify for it because there's like thresholds and things. However, I think that a lot of people let their job dictate every part of their schedule, and they don't prioritize things like date nights or personal growth, any kind of self-care that they might need to be partaking in. And when that happens, it can stunt your emotional development and your connection with other people.
Yeah, you need to prioritize what's important to you outside of your profession and being able to support your loved ones and take time out of your busy schedules, whether it's, and like I said, time is relevant to so many things, but ultimately it's reallocating that time to really take it for who's important in your life and what's important in your life.
And I think there are ways to be able to take off or limit that element of emotional armor without losing your sort of edge. And one is to just admit where you're actually hiding behind the job. It's difficult, but it's also courageous. And it's not like you need to share that with anybody if you don't want to. And creating space for conversations that matter, even if it's super short. And even if you need to be very poignant about saying, I only have 5 minutes to have this conversation. I really want to have it with you, but is it okay with you if we have those 5 minutes now? Or did you want to wait until next Tuesday at 9 p.m. to have a longer conversation?
Yeah, being able to find that time and it was really weird right there. Like, Ashley and I were just talking about something, but I'll tell you after this episode, but when you said the word poignant, that word like highlighted in my brain of the spelling of it. It was very strange. But in having this balance, you want to create this stability, this balance, and being able to come home and be there. And if you can't, right when you come home, if you can't have that hard conversation, that's okay. But say, can I have like 10 minutes? Let me shower. Let me just change out of this shield, this armor that I have on from my job to be able to say, okay, now I'm ready.
And that highlight happened because my tongue ring got stuck in my mouth the first time I had to say it, so I had to enunciate it. I think the most important thing is to have something that's just yours. I don't care if, I'll use some examples of Clint of things he's done, like roasting his own coffee beans, going out fishing, even having some guys' time with the mounted unit outside of work, like some things that are just yours that, I have no involvement in, and vice versa. Me, I am getting ready to head out to, I was about to say Florida, wherever the hell I'm going in October. Where am I
Texas. Yeah.
And going to a conference, and like that would be my thing away, right? Like there's a lot of reasons though where it's so important to make sure that you're dividing your time and then getting away and then having something that just belongs to you. I think there's a lot of growth that takes place there.
Yeah, because you're leaning on yourself. You're not having to rely on others, but you're having to find the answers to the problems and solutions to whatever may be going on. And it gives you that internal time to just kind of say,
I hope you've gotten some value out of today's episode. If you have, do us a favor, drop a review, subscribe down below. And as always, know that I'm sending you a long, tight hug from my home to yours.